Observing your client's medication, Unit 7. So the role of the home health aide in assisting with client medication is that you are not to administer medications. You can assist the resident with their medications, remind them about what time they're supposed to take it. So it's 10 o'clock, they have a 10 o'clock med. You can say, it's time to take your medication. The nurse will come in and set up a med planner. This is a weekly med planner. So there's morning, and it says Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way to Saturday. So it always starts with Sunday. And then this is noon. This is PM. So this is around dinner time. And then this is at bedtime. The nurse will pre-fill this. If it's not filled for you on the specific day that you are supposed to give meds, say that there's medication that's due at noon on Sunday of this week, and this particular box is empty, the noon on Sunday. You do not administer meds from any of the other dates because you don't know what the patient is supposed to be taking. So therefore you are to call your supervisor and say, I'm supposed to give a med at 10 o'clock according to the care plan, but there is no med here in the Sunday. Now there's meds over here, and the nurse can direct you over the phone to go ahead and take meds out of here, but do not do that on your own because they may be on a different regimen. Some of the medications, they may take one dose one day and another dose another day. It's the same medicine, it looks the same, but it's not the same. So make sure you know. This is a weekly planner. This is a daily planner. Sometimes your patients may be the one actually filling the meds. This one, it's just 1 week. This is another weekly planner, but the thing is, if you have an active patient and they're going to be gone all day Sunday, this comes out, and they can just take their Sunday meds with them because they're going to be gone all day, and then this is left at home. So that's kind of a benefit to that. And you may also have single dose. You may see any variety of these types of med planners. You cannot open them up and say, here's your meds, and hand them to them. You can open it up and then dump it into the patient's hand, as long as you know it's the right day and time, because sometimes that's why you're in the home, because they can't do these on their own. They forget what day it is. They forget what medicines they're supposed to take. They forget what time they're supposed to take those meds. So that's where you come in regarding medication administration. These are the 6 rights of medication administration. As the aide, you need to understand that these are the patient's rights, and that you have to do all of that. You have to make sure it's the right drug. Are you going to make sure it's the right drug? No. You're going to follow whatever is in here. You're going to assume that the nurse made sure it was the right drug. Okay, that is not your job to go back and review those meds. You need to make sure it's the right client. So if you have 2 clients in the home, husband and wife, make sure you have the right med planner for the right patient. Make the right dose. The nurse will make sure of that, which is why you don't take out of another day or time to give meds, because the dose may be different. The right route, is it by oral method, by swallowing the meds? Is it a patch that needs to be put on? Is it an inhaler like this that actually has a pill that you put inside of this here, and then it crushes the pill when you hit this little button? Okay, so you need to know. You would not want to have this pill in a med planner for them to swallow, because it's not going to work. It has to go through this. So you need to understand the care plan. You are not responsible for knowing how to do these. You just need to be aware that there are different types of meds that may look like a pill that needs to be swallowed, but it doesn't work that way. It needs to be administered a different way. That the medication will come on the right time. So 8 o'clock meds are 8 o'clock. 10 o'clock, PM meds, sleeping type medications are not going to be given at 8 o'clock in the morning where your client's going to sleep all day long. They need to be given at nighttime. So that kind of thing. That's why we don't, you want to make sure that you're giving these or reminding about these meds at the appropriate times. And then documentation. So if you are reminding them, if that's your job, remind them about their PM meds, then you need to document that you reminded them and that the patient took them, not that you administered them. There will be a MAR. Some of the MARs will look similar to this. It'll have the drug out here. It'll have any special instructions listed. Not all the time are you going to see this in the home. So if you do see it, pay attention to it. And it tells you what times, 9 in the morning, 1 o'clock, 5 p.m. is what time those dates, or this particular med, this iron pill, is supposed to be taken. Okay? So understand the difference between assist and administer. You are never, ever administering meds. Even if it's a Tylenol over the counter and they're like, I have a headache, I would like some Tylenol. You cannot open that Tylenol bottle, hand them the pills, and have them swallow it, because that's administering. Now, if you're going to have a medication list of what the person can take, and there may be some PRN meds, and Tylenol may be listed as a PRN med. In that case, you can take the bottle, you can open it up, you can hand it to the patient, and the patient can take out however many pills they want to take. And you can tell them, take 2, and then they can do that. And then they are administering themselves, and you are not doing it. Make sure what you can do, take the meds to the client and say it's time for your 10 o'clock meds. Loosen the lids of the containers, but you can't pour the med out even if it's a liquid. You can supervise them. Make sure the patient's hand is steady. If it's eye drops, you can hold the patient's hand and you can help open the eye, but they have to be the one to squeeze the bottle into the eye, to squeeze the drop into their eye. You cannot do that. Nebulizers, you can hand them the med. And you can open it for them and then hand it to them, and then they need to pour it into the nebulizer. You can plug in the machine, you can turn it on, they can turn it on, whatever. You can get all the equipment set up, but you cannot actually put the med into the container. So make sure you are paying attention to that. Sometimes the nurse will set up a pre-poured solution or a pre-filled syringe. So follow the care plan on those, but just know what you can do. Again, here is what the nurse will teach. You are not to teach about the side effects. You just need to understand the side effects so you can monitor for the side effects. Always follow the agency policy. Always follow the 6 rights of medication administration. Make sure you're following the care plan. If in doubt, call your nurse and say, this medication looks different than it did yesterday. Was there a change? I just am concerned about, or, the pharmacy just delivered these medications to the patient's home. What do you want me to do with them? And then have the nurse direct you. Make sure you know special instructions as far as if they need to be in the refrigerator or if they need to not be around light. You need to make sure they're stored appropriately. Pay attention to the med if it looks discolored or something like that. Do not let your patient take it. Call the supervisor. So here's just some more information for you. Please read through. All the stuff in blue is very, very important for you to understand and follow. We've talked about these. I kind of talked about that in the beginning. So aerosol treatments, you may have to assist with that. There's different types. You just need to know, certain ones are going to be just open them up, pull this little button, and then have them breathe, and it breaks the med inside. Others, you actually have to put a pill in it to have it crushed. Others don't have any type of powdery stuff, and it just needs to be shaken up. Big breath. So you all learned how to administer inhalers. You're not administering. Sometimes they do have the little breather on the end. I'm not sure what that's called, but put that breather on the end so you can just deploy the inhalant into that, and then the patient can take a big breath if they have a problem with doing it all at the same time simultaneously. But you are just monitoring that they're doing it correctly. That's all you're doing. Observe the client if they're having any difficulties. You'll clean the equipment after, so understand how you clean each of the items that they have, and then you'll store it appropriately. Just read all of this. This is your nebulizer equipment. Nebulizer equipment needs to be washed. There is bacteria that will kind of adhere to that, so all of those parts and pieces need to be washed on a daily basis after use. If they have it twice a day, You can do it in the morning, do it at night, soak it overnight, rinse it, clean it in the morning, and then use it again. That would be fine. But you need to make sure this stuff is appropriate so they're not getting an infection. Follow the protocol and understand how to use this stuff so you can assist when the resident is doing it in front of you. I'm just going to go through these. You please take a look at each of these, but it's basically what I have just said. You cannot draw up insulin. You cannot administer insulin. You cannot press the button to administer the insulin. You can hold the skin. You can hand them the insulin that's pre-filled, hopefully, or you can stand there and watch and look and make sure they have 10 units if that's what they were supposed to have. So you do need to understand how to read it, but you cannot administer in any way, shape, or form anything about that. You just can ensure that they are doing it and getting the appropriate dose. Oxygen is a medication. You cannot administer oxygen, so you cannot decide, oh, they need 2 liters of oxygen right now. But you can monitor. They're supposed to be on 2 liters, and it's set on 2 liters. Take care of the machine. Fill it. Put in the distilled water into the bubbler. Clean the nasal cannula and the mask. If you notice water or condensation in the nasal cannula, throw it away, get a new one. I'm not real sure why there gets condensation in there, but it's just better to move on to another clean piece. Understand how to take off the regulators and put them on new ones. Every person is going to have a different type of oxygen, whether it's a bottle or a concentrator, or sometimes they have a big tank where they fill their own bottles. So you need to become familiar. The patient that you're dealing with is probably going to be able to educate you in regards to that, in addition to the nurse. And if you have any questions, concerns, issues, contact your nurse who's in charge. So these are just some different types of oxygen concentrators. Make sure the bubbler is filled as it's supposed to. Make sure that the filters are clean. Pull them out, rinse them under water, get all the dust particles off, dry them. And you just have to squeeze out all the water, and then you can put the filters back in. Make sure you're documenting. Documenting is huge, especially when you're in the home, because it's how the agency gets paid, and it's how they justify having you in the home. Okay. And then just oxygen safety. Make sure there's a sign in the house, a sign outside the house on the door saying that no smoking, no sparks, the client should not be wearing wool clothing or anything that will produce a static charge, because that can ignite the oxygen. Don't have any lighted candles, no cigarettes. If the client does not use alcohol, or they should not use alcohol or other flammable liquids. So make sure you understand what is flammable and what is going to potentially be an issue for you and your client while you're in the home. And then here's just some more oxygen safety rules. If they're on oxygen, let them participate. Oxygen is not debilitating. Oxygen is not something that they are sick and they can't do anything. They can get up, they can move around. They just don't have enough oxygen to be able to sustain themselves on their own. That's why they have to have supplemental oxygen. But the oxygen in and of itself does not debilitate the person. So don't debilitate them in your mind and do more for them because they're on oxygen. All right, so that's it. If there's any questions, please send me an email via Blackboard and let me know, and I will try to help assist in any way that I can. Thank you.